Hello, welcome to another edition of the Front Row Roundtable Show. We're glad to have you along with us. Joining me this week on the big show, Von Graffine. He is the head basketball coach at Port Clinton.
Good to be here.
Good to have you here. And our court jester, Marty Ben.
I'm going to start tonight
Hallmark Mortgage
by saying I bet, literally I bet, I know something we're going to talk about tonight. That'll be the first parlay of the evening.
He was working up that material all day.
Almost a day and a half I was thinking how to, get there. Because I want to bet that. And as a basketball coach, I have thoughts on, how easy it would be to taint this whole thing and no one would ever know.
Well, we mentioned this a few weeks ago that this was a possibility, and it did happen, is that the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling, basically threw out the law that said only Nevada could have sports gambling. So now it's wide open for any state to do whatever they want to do. First of all, anybody surprised that this happened?
No.
Because I couldn't see how legally that would hold up to where one state could do it and nobody else
It's
could.
almost as obnoxious as baseball's monopoly. Not quite, but almost.
There's $150 billion proven bet off the books last year. It could be up to $400 billion. These leagues, the NCAA, want a piece of the pie. And that's what it comes down to now.
Everybody's been lining up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's
There's
been
a
lining
whole
up.
bunch of people standing there with their hands out.
And the players' unions are going, wait a second, we're the ones that actually do the work on the field or on the court or on the rink.
So pay us more and then we won't be corrupt, which brings me to my first.
I'm sorry? Who won't be corrupt?
Well, I mean, that's the theory behind pay us more and then we will be past corruption.
Oh, I don't think you have to worry about that on a professional sports scale. Not on the professionals, the four main professional sports. They make too much money.
So that was the argument, and I'm gonna say I can prove you wrong today.
If somebody's making $5 million a year, how much would you have to bribe them with?
So we've talked about on your show.
You'd have to pay them $20 million.
Wait.
That's very easy to detect.
We've talked about on your show the slippery slope of this. So let's say you're sitting in an NBA game.
Are you a slippery slope guy?
And you can parlay the
That's a yes.
the next two free throws. And yet we make an agreement. You're the NBA player because I have no hope of ever. I mean,
But like he says, what do you have to pay the guy to make it worth him being out of
Yeah, but he's a rookie
basketball
and two of his
forever?
buddies are nowhere. And you say all you have to do is make sure you miss your sixth free throw. Not whatever, right, just the sixth one. How would you ever know that was happening other than some gambling irregularity? And then you got to track that, and you got to prove it, and you got to do whatever. It is a slippery slope, and I'm not a slippery slope guy, but I don't see how you could ever police that. And you tell me that couldn't happen.
Well, my concern is not so much before the game or after the game, but during the game. Things going on, access to cell phones in locker rooms, half times. NFL locker time, halftime is a long time to take a break, get a drink of water, whatever, and talk to friends. And all the little things that go on. The apps in your phone are going to be available to you to bet on the next score being a field goal or a touchdown or a fumble. Or the things you can bet on now is unlimited. And that's my concern, not about the point spread or before the game or after the game, those kind of things, but during the game and the integrity of the game and keeping it truly what that game is.
Well, you could already bet before.
Before and after.
Legally and illegally, and
Right.
you could always bet in Vegas. Right. So I
But-
don't
but-
think we should
but
jump
betting-
off a cliff here and say the sky is falling or whatever.
I'm not.
Because this is going to change.
But betting live is different than
Right, exactly.
I mean, betting on the sixth free throw going in or not, to me, is the worst possible scenario. Because if we're talking about something that was a predetermined result, it's different than the next free throw. Because to me, there are so many intricacies of the possibilities of that. I don't see how you could ever regulate away from that.
People talk. Stuff comes out. And then, first of all, well, what? You had that look.
I was just going to say people talk, and yet the NBA for years has dealt with the stigma of the referee, and I can't remember his name now, but
The guy from New Jersey, was it Donahue?
yes, Tim Donahue, right? Help me here.
Who's the?
But we say it doesn't happen, but yet I bet if we polled
Oh, has it never happened?
40% of the people that watch NBA games, I think 40% of the people believe there's some conspiracy still. Not on a game by game, not every game, but on the off games, on off nights or whatever, the ones that don't matter during the regular season. I think people believe that.
There's people that believe all kinds of crazy stuff.
I understand, right? We never landed on the moon.
Just go on the internet and you don't hang out on social media. There's all kinds of the Earth is flat and we never went to the moon.
No,
and
yes,
9/11
no,
was an
Kyrie,
inside
I don't
job,
believe the Earth is flat.
And there were 12 people on the grassy knoll, and
But you're saying you can't cover it up, and I think a small group of people, organized for the right amount of money, will take that to their grave. And I that's all I'm going to say.
I'm telling you, it almost always comes out. I'm not saying never. I would never say
It may
never.
not come out the next day or the next day.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think pro sports is what you have to worry about. I think college sports is more of what you have to worry about.
Well, as we're headed down the slippery slope, the avalanche will cover you if you get down into that level of sporting.
Well, the slippery slope, I'm not sure what that means or where you're going with that.
What I'm saying is everybody has a – so it's an old joke, and it's a cliche, and I know it stinks. But there's that old thing, fine, would you sleep with me for $1? Well, no. Would you sleep with me for whatever? No. For $10 million, and then, at some point in time someone says yes, and just so we're clear, I'm not interested. But
Right, thank you.
But there's a number.
10 million? Oh, no.
What I'm saying is there's a number where they're like, I can buy a lot of therapy and whatever, my family will be great for 2 generations, and I'll do it. And then the punchline is, well, we've established what you are, now the only negotiation is price. And so to me, the slippery slope is everyone's price is different. And you say in professional sports, the money is so great. Why? Not for everybody. Not for what you could do if you were given that chance.
It would have to be an exorbitant sum to be able to bribe somebody on a professional scale. That's what I'm
When
saying.
there's $500 million now-ish.
$150 billion.
The more the money, the easier it is to track.
$400 billion.
Right, and you and I probably believe it's a big, big number.
Right.
And that number could approach $1 trillion then, if it was legal, where you didn't have to fill, right? If you and I could do it and not worry about any repercussions or whatever, what if it was $1 trillion now? And you're saying $1 trillion doesn't trump $500,000 a year?
But what happens to the athlete that gets caught? Is he done for life? Is he done for a season? Is he done for...
But that trillion number
I've seen
thrown
Barry
out.
Bonds' head, and apparently it's not that big a deal to cheat as long as the money's right.
If you bribe somebody and collect $1 trillion, it's going to raise some red flags.
It's going to come out. He's right. In time.
But that guy's not making $1 trillion. He might make $3 million. He and his buddies, and they split it $1.5 million apiece, and he triples his salary, and nobody winks an eye because it's a blip. Okay, I'm a slippery slope guy on this. On this one, I am.
So you think the athletes are at risk more than anything else in this new legalized gambling?
I think the temptations will go up exponentially, even though I'm not opposed to the ruling. I think how you adjudicate it is critical because I think it puts a lot of people in a bad spot.
How do the leagues police it, get their money back? They're the product. Regardless of how we do this, the NHL, the NFL, Major League Baseball, NCAA, they're gonna want a piece of the pie. How do they get it?
All good questions, which we'll pick up in our next segment. How's that for a transition? And plus, I will tell Marty why the temptation is not greater, that it will be less. And I'll explain that when we come back. It's the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's. If I did not mention that off the top, we appreciate Ralphie's very much and being the title sponsor here on the Front Row Roundtable show. And we'll be back here on NBC 24.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer, a shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Ag Mortgage Marty here. With the new tax code changes, home equity lines of credit, HELOCs as we call them, have changed whether they're deductible. And with recent interest rate increases, you're seeing those variable rates on them increase. I've had a lot of interest in customers putting them in with their first mortgage, converting to a 10, 15, even 20 year to compress the timeline so they're not stretching back out over 30 and get better rates. If you have interest in that, just text HELOC to the number you see on the screen there, HELOC, and we'll get you info on how to take advantage of that tax deductibility all over again.
Save more at the Monroe Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Superstore when you drive home one of 4 amazing new models for only $178 a month. Drive home in a 2018 Dodge Charger GT all-wheel drive, 2018 Jeep Compass Limited, the all-new 2019 Jeep Cherokee Limited, or the all-new 2018 Jeep Wrangler Limited Sport 4-wheel drive 4-door. Call the Low Payment Kings toll-free at 1-888-4-DODGE-1 or check out hundreds of cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs at monroesuperstore.com.
Since 1982, Red Wing Shoes at North Reynolds and Bancroft, selling purpose-built footwear for men and women no matter what your job is. Carrying the largest selection of Red Wing shoes in Northwest Ohio, over 3,000 pairs of boots, shoes, and accessories in stock to ensure the proper orthotic fit and style for your line of work. Stop in and see Mike, Aaron, or Bob at their newly renovated office. We're easy to get to at the corner of North Reynolds and Bancroft with ample parking. Red Wing Shoes, Reynolds and Bancroft, where service, quality, and fit come first.
And back we are in the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's. And if you're out and about any time, you can stop by at Ralphie's, craft beers, all kinds of wonderful things to eat. If you're there after 9 o'clock, you can get half-price appetizers. Of course, weekdays, there's all kinds of wing specials. There's lunch specials. Go check it out. It's where I hang out and watch the game at Ralphie's. All right. Now, back to sports gambling. If in case you just joined us, the Supreme Court in the last week or so overturned the law that allowed just Nevada to have sports gambling. If you're wondering where the situation is
Just Nevada to legally have sports gambling, because I think if you wanted to acquire a bookie at most any place in America, you could find it. So
thank you for clarifying that.
Well,
now it's legal.
right.
The governor's
Well, it's not legal yet. It could be legal if your state chooses to, but
Right. Leave it up to the states.
Right. We're just trying to help people understand what actually happened and what didn't happen. Because I've seen some pretty fuzzy headlines on what has happened.
Well, the Supreme Court is going to allow the states to control gambling,
West
correct?
Virginia, Delaware,
Right.
New Jersey
This
are all
is
standing
what
on
I'm
it.
trying to get into.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, whenever you're done, it's fine.
I'll be quiet.
It'll be the Front Row hosted by Marty Ben here.
No, it will not.
All right. In Ohio, the communications director, which I'm assuming this is from the governor's office, according to USA Today, said expanding gambling has not been a priority for this administration, and that remains unchanged. We're aware of the ruling and looking to see what impact it will immediately have on Ohio policies. Now, for them to sit on the sidelines and not collect money, I'll believe that when I see it. Michigan, though, is much more closer. USA Today, it says there are currently 8 bills that would expand gambling, including several that would legalize sports betting and wagers on fantasy sports. 4 have gotten votes in committee. 3 would allow internet gambling, and another that would legalize fantasy sports betting, but none has gotten votes in either the full House or the Senate of Michigan. So that's where that's at. But there's a number of states that have already passed authorization and have been waiting for this to happen. Oregon, California, to mention a few.
West Virginia and New Jersey, there are 5.
Well, Oregon, California is not, but Oregon has, Mississippi has. And you know,
Theirs wasn't just fantasy; it was the full sports book.
of course, New
operation.
Jersey has.
Yeah.
And they're ready to implement it through the existing casinos.
Correct.
But when there is any kind of a gambling, illegal gambling, what's the word I'm looking for? Any kind of investigation or any kind of accusations or whatever, who's the first one that usually tips off the feds? Vegas.
Right, because they find an irregularity that they lose money because somebody put too much on a bet that shouldn't have had too much on it.
And they can see it.
They got their thumb on just about everything. Usually they're the first ones to see it and tip somebody off.
You say this all the time, follow the money, and the minute somebody that's supposed to be making the money loses the money, they're screaming.
Well, what I'm saying is if there wasn't Vegas, if there wasn't legalized sports betting in Vegas, a lot of this stuff would not be found out about. And actually Vegas helped tip off, I believe, the Toledo investigation. as well.
Are you saying it's going to be too big to police now?
I think there's going to be a lot of people that will be looking into every little thing that's going on.
Interesting.
And
So in
instead
my
of
free throw
instead of
example,
having a
if suddenly
few
there's a
eyes,
spike in the bet on the free throw.
instead of a few guys, yeah, right.
Well, I'm saying-
if they normally get, let's just throw out a number, 10,000 bets on a free throw, and all of a sudden they get 100,000 on a free throw.
4,100 drunk people and 100 people paying attention, and everybody bets, and then all of a sudden there's,
You
one
see it.
more bet, but it's for $1 million. They're going to notice that
Especially on a
instead of
mid-
the usual $10, he'll make the next free throw bet with your buddy.
Especially on a missed one. Unless you're Andre Drummond, and then the odds are probably the other way around.
Are you betting for a miss there, or is it on purpose?
Well,
It's hard to tell the
probably
difference
better
with him.
odds if you bet on him making one than missing one. So, but
In the Phillies-Celtics game last week, Marcus Smart tried to miss at the end of the game and made it,
Yes,
and the clock didn't run out.
which was kind of an odd. And then he steals the pass down
Inbound,
the corner.
right.
Yes, it was the
So it can happen
ultimate
the other way, too.
oops, okay moment.
Right.
All right, fine. So you're saying it'll be more policed, not less policed.
I think so. Yeah, I think there'll be more people looking into it.
See, the people you're not going to have any more gamblers. If you mentioned a minute ago, you want to have a bookie on Saturday morning or Sunday morning and call him and get set up for the day, you can do that about anywhere. Now it's going to be more out in the open. It's going to be policed, going to keep an eye on it. But how do sports teams, with the product they have, continue to allow it to go on, and how do they police it? How do they make money off it? Because that's the biggest thing, is the money that's out there, whether it's taxes for the states or for the commodity, the teams, the leagues, and where do you go from there?
Just like we see the big tax windfall from the lottery.
Sometimes I think you try to make the top of my head pop off right here on the TV on a Saturday night.
We said solely sarcasm, so.
So for me, the hard thing is you already see, so the NFL had waited to weigh in on this whole thing until it was decided, and already they're kind of chipping in, and they want the Senate to pass legislation that would favor a plan that they, so, when you
They
say-
have control still.
and that they can guarantee the integrity of the game while having control. And I find that it's very interesting that they want a foot in each of those ponds as this has come down. So they've already got, Congress with their money or lobbying or lobbying. Can I say lobbying without being political?
We got less than 2 minutes here. Yeah, okay. You can. I wanted to mention, though, that football, basketball, both, I think they know that interest in those sports are enhanced by gambling. It is.
But if there's the sniff or the whiff of it's not random, that it's not just what happens, that they know that interest would wane exceptionally, like it would drop dramatically, and then their product becomes less appealing to the masses.
Right.
And I think the yin and the yang of that is why they're already weighing in that they better figure out a way to make sure while you can do this, that we all think, whether it's true or not, and I'm not trying to say it's not true, whether it's true or not, that we all think as a collective society that it's fair.
All right. We have to take another time out. We'll come back, and I want to get into a little bit to a high-profile baseball player that just got racked for 80-game suspension. We'll do that when we come back. It's the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's here on NBC 24.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer, a shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Ag Mortgage Marty here. With the new tax code changes, home equity lines of credit, HELOCs as we call them, have changed whether they're deductible. And with recent interest rate increases, you're seeing those variable rates on them increase. I had a lot of interest in customers putting them in with their first mortgage, converting to a 10, 15, even 20 year to compress the timeline so they're not stretching back out over 30 and get better rates. If you have interest in that, just text HELOC to the number you see on the screen there, HELOC, and we'll get you info on how to take advantage of that tax deductibility all over again.
Save more at the Monroe Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Superstore when you drive home one of 4 amazing new models for only $178 a month. Drive home in a 2018 Dodge Charger GT all-wheel drive, 2018 Jeep Compass Limited, the all-new 2019 Jeep Cherokee Limited, or the all-new 2018 Jeep Wrangler Limited Sport 4-wheel drive 4-door. Call the Low Payment Kings toll-free at 1-888-4-DODGE-1 or check out hundreds of cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs at monroesuperstore.com.
Powerbomb Wrestling is on the road with 2 upcoming live events. BBW returns to Findlay on Sunday, June the 3rd at the All-American Rock House. It's a double main event featuring the Bachelor Ben Boone and Pedo the Killer Clown for the heavyweight title and Nate Matson and Sean Casey for the cruiserweight title. Powerbomb Wrestling back in Toledo on Sunday, June the 10th at St. Clements Hall. See Dr. Jerry Graham and his new acquisition with Pedo the Killer Clown against Ben Boone and Malice. Get your discounted advance tickets anytime at pbwexcitement.com. And back we are on the Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's, Norm Waymer, Von Graffine, Marty Bin. All right, this week, Robinson Cano, formerly of the Yankees, currently the Seattle Mariners. It was announced that he had tested positive for a banned substance. Now, he had broke his finger in a game against the Tigers, and apparently he had tested positive for this substance before that, but he dropped his appeal so he could likely begin serving it while he's on the out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken finger.
Right, so an 80-game suspension might only be 30 in real time.
Furosemide, it was the substance, which is a diuretic, which is not a performance-enhancing substance, but it is a masking agent, which means you can be taking something and take that to mask it being picked up by a test.
Because I know you and I, we take masking agents every day just in case.
But it's still banned, correct?
Well, it's banned because then they can't tell what else you're taking.
Exactly.
Which is what I'm saying is, why are you taking a masking agent unless you're cheating?
Well, I gotta throw this out here before we totally dive into this. When it was announced that he was suspended for 80 games, Justin Verlander hopped on Twitter, which if you don't follow Justin Verlander on Twitter, you should. He's a very entertaining follow. And he simply tweeted, "And excuse coming in 3, 2, 1." And the excuse did come, which Cano said the substance was given, this is funny, substance was given to me by a licensed doctor in the Dominican Republic. now, I don't know what it takes to get licensed in the Dominican Republic. I'm guessing it's not quite as stringent as here.
Here's the thing I can tell you. So
okay, hang on. To treat a medical ailment, which he didn't say what the medical ailment was, and if you were going to get treated for a medical ailment, why wouldn't you do it with a doctor here? You have a team doctor, for heaven's sakes, if you don't have a doctor here. While I did not realize at the time I was given a medication that was banned, I obviously now wish that I had been more careful. You know, he's in the middle, and he goes on to say, too, I would never do anything to cheat the rules of the game that I love. Well, yes, you did. He's in the middle of a 10-year, $240 million contract, so $24 million a year. This is going to cost him approximately 11 point something million dollars. Either he was doing something that he shouldn't have been doing, or he's the stupidest man on the planet for not checking to see what he's taken, and it costing him over $11 million. For $11 million, I'm going to find out what's in there.
So let's rewind for a second. He was a teammate of
Royd
at the Yankees. And oh, by the way, I happened to go to a Caribbean country this year. I went to Roatan over the holidays. And I swear to you, you can walk in La Farmacia there and you can get anything you want. And I bet you could get a doctor there for about $4 American to prescribe, because you don't need a prescription for almost anything you want there. This whole thing doesn't smell, it doesn't stink, it reeks of the same garbage we got from that whole, well, it was my cousin, it was him, it was garbage. Absolute garbage. Cheated, got caught, just fess up. Hey, Ryan Braun, Robinson, Braun, stop it.
See, Nevada takes care of this, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, when it comes to boxing, because it's simply written there that they don't care. They don't care how it got into your body. Right. You are responsible for what goes into your body. If it's there, it's your fault. We don't care where you got it from. And that's why Canelo Alvarez got 6 months. And I'll give a little credit to the World Boxing Council, which I almost never do for obvious reasons, but they, if I'm not mistaken, they will not rank you unless you are enrolled in VADA, which is the drug testing program. And by the way, Canelo Alvarez, as the time we tape this, is not enrolled in VADA. So I think that baseball anyway, and I can't really, I don't know enough about the other sports and their drug testing. I do follow baseballs very closely. I think it's cleaner than it's been in quite some time.
Well, you lost some people when it wasn't so clean, and now the era of the guys that should be going in the Hall of Fame aren't even getting on a ballot, not even getting votes. And whether they were or weren't, some guys said, okay, I did it, and they got to go clean. Some guys lied forever, found out you did do it. You know, and you mentioned Ryan Braun a minute ago. He told his friend Aaron Rodgers, who was in business with him, that he's clean, and he wasn't. So,
well,
who do
not
you
to
believe?
mention you tried to ruin somebody's career too.
Yeah.
Over it. We got less than a minute.
Look, I think there's a whole era of people that cheated, and the veteran baseball players who were part of that era are going to wash out, and hopefully the new era players, because of what we're saying about the testing, will be better, and we won't have to think about this in 20 more years. But I think there's a 20, 25-year period where I just shake my head and just don't care anymore.
I think Cano was a shoo-in to go in the Hall of Fame. What about now?
Nope.
Now it weighs in, but also there's a minor leaguer every week getting caught with PEDs. Every week there's a minor leaguer trying to get to the big leagues that's caught.
And circle that back to what I was saying about gambling and the slippery slope. That's all I'm going to say.
Which is?
Well, for the right amount of money,
They're trying to get in the league.
you're trying to do whatever, and if you can get an edge or you can do whatever.
I don't know the numbers, but I'll tell you what, every week in the paper there's a minor leaguer that's caught.
But there's a difference between when you don't have any money and somebody dangles 5 or 6 figures in front of you compared to having 8 figures in the bank.
It's all relative.
Somebody has
It's
to
all relative.
dangle money. We got to get out of here. Thank you, guys.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate it very much. Marty Ben, Von Graffine. I'm Norm Weimer. Powerbomb Wrestling coming your way at 2 a.m. If you can't stay up, DVR it. If you can't, you can always catch it on Fight.tv. Also on YouTube. But we'll see you next week on the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie.